For USCFootball.com, I'm Keely Eure here with Dan Weber for instant analysis of USC's Wednesday practice of Cal Week. And Dan, you were pretty impressed by today's practice. What were your takeaways?
Yeah, I thought it was very businesslike, very efficient. I thought their minds were exactly where they should be. I think they got done what they tried to accomplish. It looked like one of the good USC teams that got to this part of the year and knew what they were doing and went about it. I do think, in talking to some of the different kids, they think some things have clicked. Whether no matter who they played last week, they get the sense. And so much of it starts with the offensive line. If you get, the feeling, okay, the offensive line is starting to get it, and they're going to be, consistent, and this is just going to work. Well, if the offensive line works, pretty much everything else works. I mean, they're just, as Cam Smith was saying, man, those 5, 6, 7 minute drives, they're so good for the defense. So that's a plus if you can, drive the ball, pound the ball, keep moving the sticks and getting first down. So there is a sense of maybe we've turned the corner. And, they're giving credit to, both Drevno and Mike Goff in terms of, the kind of basic fundamentals and technique that they're doing, with these guys. So we'll see. You don't want to overstate what happened with Oregon State because it only matters if it happens this week. But there is a sense of, okay, we're getting our stuff together here, and now we got to go out and do it.
Yeah, we got to ask players who go up against the offensive line in practice each week, are there any differences of the offensive line? And you got to talk to Christian Rector, and he had an interesting take on that.
Yeah, I mean, he said, he didn't even know. He said, I don't know exactly how to describe it. And I know we were playing Oregon State, just what we said, but he said, there's just something different about their mindset. He said, something's changed, and he said it's pretty cool, that something's changed. And they will talk to you, the offensive linemen will talk to you about how good it is for them to go up against Christian. And I think Austin Jackson said yesterday, Christian's the best defensive end he's played against all year. And so that kind of back and forth again, referencing how it was when, the Pete Carroll years when they were going so well. So much of that was what happened in practice with one guy going against another who were both really good and pushing guys and pushing them to get better. But you're hearing that kind of talk that we didn't hear for a good while this year.
Yeah.
There are, thoughts coming out of these guys and you're seeing it in practice. Now, this is not an Alabama practice, and they're just, not busting everybody up and all of that. But the 9-on-7, I think, and you notice this, and I do, it's more competitive, it's more physical, and it's more serious. And I think that kind of sets the tone for the day, and then you go from there. And I think the 7-on-7 passing has been, very competitive. The 1-on-1 passing has been really competitive. And, they finish up going against the scout team at the very end on both offense and defense. That isn't with the same kind of competition. But if they get it right in 9-on-7, if they get the pass rush and the 7-on-7 passing, if they get all that done, they've had 4 pretty competitive periods. So I think what we see now is they use that final period, 11-on-11, is more of a review, getting it right and repetition and all that. But they need to have the competition and the physicality in the earlier parts of practice. I think they're getting that done better by far than they did earlier in the year.
Yeah. It seems like USC's cornerback situation keeps evolving each day. Today we did see Isaac Taylor Stewart return to full pads, not full pads, but he was in pads rather than just being a watcher of practice. We also saw Chase Williams back out there getting some reps. We saw both of them kind of off to the side with Ronnie Bradford and Clay Helton and multiple trainers. It was like a big event, which shows you the state that USC's cornerback situation is in. But they've been using them a lot in practice today, and even after practice, the three horns ended, they got more work with Ronnie Bradford. So it kind of gives you a sense of where this team is with the cornerback depth.
And multiple trainers and multiple doctors. So they had like 7 people observing the two. Can they come back? How soon can they come back? What are they going to do? Isaac Taylor Stewart had a big wrap on his ankle, moving pretty well. I mean, you forget what a good athlete he is. I mean, he's a big-time athlete. And then you saw with the scout team, you saw Chase Williams doing some work at safety. So I think, this is the time when you decide, are we going to get something, from these guys, and how, what if this happened? And I know Clay's talked a couple of times this week about worst case scenarios, but, you want to have in the back of your mind, what if? And where does that leave us with these two guys? And maybe it's not this week. I would guess not this week, but what about the next 2 weeks, and where does that leave you? So and the whole the 4 games and the red shirt, how does that all play into things? And I know, for example, Clay said specifically today he doesn't want to burn Marquise Stepp's red shirt.
Yeah.
And he asked him specifically at Oregon State, he said, you haven't been in yet, right? Because he didn't need him at Oregon State. But he said, if we need him, he's going in. I mean, he's going to be ready on special teams or as the third running back. And said, if that's what you need to win the game, he's going in, and not going to worry about the red shirt. But this is the time of year where you start thinking a number of different thoughts, I think, at this point, with the numbers the way they are for USC.
Yeah. As far as Imam Marshall goes, though, we didn't really get a new update. It's still status quo, kind of a coin flip at this point. But if he's not ready to go, Jonathan Lockett seems to be the first-team cornerback. That's where he's been practicing. Lockett said today that he's been splitting the reps this week between nickel and corner. But Elijah Griffin has been getting some reps, some first-team reps at that corner position as well. So it seems like we might see a duo of those two, depending on where Imam Marshall goes.
Yeah, I mean, I would say this with Iman, that he was in football shoes, and he was doing some individual rehab work with the trainers, and he's not limping. But, when you've got both a foot and an ankle sprain, you just don't know how much pressure it's going to take, in a couple of days, 3-4 days from now. What can you do? I think he's an absolute flip a coin at this point. And so I think they're without a doubt getting ready to go without him.
Yeah.
And I think they're crossing their fingers, as Clay said a couple of times, that Elijah Griffin doesn't, have that, pain in his shoulder, and gets all the, the reps he can, and he, with his talent, if they can do that and play him at corner and play Jonathan Lockett at nickel, where he's looked so good, they'd be thrilled to death. If they can keep Ajeni at safety with Marvell Tell, keep Langley on the other side at corner, they will be just absolutely thrilled to death if they can go with those 5 guys. So we shall see.
Yeah. Helton was actually asked today about Justin Wilcox, his former defensive coordinator when he took over as interim head coach. He asked if there's tendencies between you two, which one has the advantage after you've coached together, the offense or the defense? And Helton said, it doesn't really matter. But what do you think that matchup's going to be like, Justin Wilcox coming back to the Coliseum?
I don't know. I thought Wilcox has done a good job. I thought he coached well against USC last year. I thought he had him prepared. I think the other factor there is former Fresno State head coach Tim DeRuyter, and he's I like him as a coach, and Clay obviously does. And so I think what they do so many changes. They make give you one look, and then they're in something else. And I think communication is really, really as much as they talk about it, it really is going to matter this week. So. And I don't know how you prepare them for all the ways that they can change from this to this or this to that. You just prepare them for the fact that they're going to change. And so I'm not sure that there'll be any one, we're going to do this against that or whatever. You just have to be ready, to do it. And I think that tendency that you understand about how Justin Wilcox coaches is, I think that's the more important thing, not so much the absolute specifics of what you do, but just the fact that everybody's going to have to be paying attention, everybody's going to have to be talking and listening to one another, and I think, knowing that, I think helps get you through the week, not so much the specific, alignments and the specific stunts and all of that. Just know they're going to be doing something, and you better be ready to handle it, when it happens.
Yeah, in that sense, Helton described scheme-wise Cal as a nightmare for USC. How do you see this one going, Dan? I know that the defense is preparing for 2 quarterbacks. Offensively, it's going to be a tough challenge for USC's offense, especially without Michael Pittman and Stephen Carr. How do you see this going?
Well, I think I tend to really agree with Clay. This is one, and he said, he said it last week, but I'm going to say it again, that it's up to your players. Players are going to win games. If the players show up and they're ready to play, and they're ready to, they're really focused on, maybe in ways in which they weren't at the Arizona State game a couple of weeks ago at the Coliseum, and don't make those, kinds of mistakes. I think USC has better personnel. I mean, USC, for example, can go, lose to Michael Pittman in a game and put, Devin Williams in. And people think, whoa, he's bigger and faster, and starting to catch touchdown passes. So USC's got a lot of guys. I mean, they made a couple of just terrific, unbelievable one-on-one, one-handed leaping catches, getting their foot down. One of them was Joshua Matterbaby, and we haven't seen him. Amon-Ra also, and I think Amon-Ra will get more of a featured role this week. So it's not a case of, USC won't have anybody to put in that spot, and you lose to Stephen Carr. But the way Akacetic Ware and Vavai Malapai are playing, it's like two guys are doing a pretty good job. I mean, between them, they had whatever it was, 300 and some yards between the two guys. So you'll take that. They might have to figure out a way to, they're going to have somebody in there on kickoff return for Stephen. And I think, who did he say today was?
Dominique Davis.
Dominique Davis, yeah, that would be great. What a good deal for Dominic. And he's been out there practicing hard, busting his tail, and that'd be a terrific opportunity. And who knows? We've seen him, bust a long one in his career, and that'd be pretty neat.
Yeah. As far as USC secondary goes, they're playing kind of mix and match based on all the injuries. Are you concerned at all how much that might be a liability in the game?
Nah, not so much. I don't know that Cal has been taking advantage of people through the air. They have not been all that accurate throwing the ball. And I don't look at, if they go with Elijah Griffin, who's healthy, and he probably won't play if he's not healthy, but if he's playing, he's healthy. With the way Jonathan Lockett's playing, and Jenny and Marvell at safety, with Marvell back now a week healthy, and Isaiah Langley, who what did he make 9 tackles the other day, and was really, you get him up a little bit into coverage a little more. I think you can be pretty happy with that fivesome right there.
All right. Any final thoughts before we wrap it up?
No. This time I'm not going to have any. I think that was the final thought.
Okay, good. For Dan Weber, I'm Keely Eure. For more, check out USCfootball.com.